You think you know what's really inside Area 51. You think it's just a military base, a playground for conspiracy theorists and UFO fanatics. You couldn't be more wrong. Area 51 is something far worse. It's not just some classified facility hiding advanced aircraft or secret technologies. I've seen what's truly inside, and I can tell you with absolute certainty, it's nothing like you've been told. This isn't about aliens or flying saucers. This is about something far more dangerous, something that's been hidden for decades, something that was never meant to be found. My name is Marcus Reed. I'm a freelance investigative reporter, or at least I used to be. I've made my career digging into the stories that nobody else wants to touch, the stories that make people uncomfortable, that make them question everything they think they know. Area 51 was supposed to be my big break. It was supposed to be the story that put me on the map, made me a name, got me out of the financial hole I've been stuck in for years. But instead, it almost cost me everything. It cost me my best friend, and it showed me something that I wish I could forget. I wasn't always this way, you know. There was a time when I didn't believe in any of it, the UFOs, the government conspiracies, the secret experiments. I thought it was all a joke, something cooked up by people with too much time on their hands. But then I met Danny Torres, my best friend and partner in crime for the last 6 years. Danny was a videographer, a damn good one too. He had an eye for detail, and he'd been obsessed with Area 51 for as long as I'd known him. He's the one who got me into this mess. Danny and I have been chasing the Area 51 story for years, trying to get inside, trying to find something, anything that would prove it was more than just a military testing ground. And then one night, Danny called me up, his voice trembling with excitement. "Marcus, I made contact with someone," he said, barely able to contain himself. "Someone on the inside. Someone who has access to the security codes, who can get us in. This is it, man. This is the real deal." I should have known better. I should have laughed it off, told him he was crazy. But I didn't. I couldn't. My bank account was in the red, my landlord was threatening eviction, and the freelance gigs had dried up completely. The idea of a big payday from a documentary was like a lifeline thrown to a drowning man. We met at a dingy bar off the strip in Vegas 2 days later. Danny was sitting in the corner, hunched over a map of the Nevada desert, his face lit by the dim glow of a flickering neon sign. "Marcus, listen," he whispered, leaning in close. "About everything we need. The codes, the access points, even the security schedules. All we need to do is get in, get the footage, and get out." Danny handed me a thick file folder. Maps, photographs, detailed security schedules, even floor plans of buildings I'd never seen in any leaked documents. "All right," I said finally. "I'm in. But if this goes sideways, we won't get caught," Danny interrupted. "We got this, Marcus. We're finally going to show the world the truth." 2 weeks later, we were standing on the edge of the Nevada desert, staring at miles of barbed wire fence. Danny had managed to get us uniforms, desert camo, and badges that looked close enough to pass inspection. "Just stick to the plan," Danny muttered. "We go in, we get the footage, and we get out. Quick and clean." We moved slowly, carefully, keeping low to the ground. The desert sand crunched softly beneath our boots. The night was dark, the moon hidden behind thick clouds. After what felt like hours, we reached the outer fence. Danny pulled out a signal jammer. "It'll mess with the cameras just long enough for us to slip through." He flicked it on, and we waited. Nothing, just the wind and the distant hum of a generator. "Go," Danny whispered. We cut through the fence, slipping inside and sticking to the shadows. My heart was racing. This was insane, but we were in. We were actually inside Area 51. And that's when I heard it. A low, guttural growl coming from somewhere deep within the base. A sound that no human, no animal I'd ever heard, could make. "Danny," I whispered. "Did you hear that?" He nodded, his face pale. "Yeah, I heard it." We moved forward, our cameras rolling, our hearts pounding. And then, as we turned the corner, we saw it. A massive, hulking shape moving in the shadows. Its eyes glowing a deep, unnatural green. And then it turned, and I saw its face. And I knew we had just made the biggest mistake of our lives. The codes worked. The first gate opened with a soft click. We slipped through, and the second gate opened just as smoothly. "We're in," Danny whispered, grinning. The base was bigger than I'd imagined, a sprawling maze of buildings and guard towers. We stayed close to the shadows, moving toward a low building at the compound's edge. "That's our first stop," Danny whispered. "The power station." That's when it started. A low hum, barely audible at first. Then a flash of light streaked across the sky. Too quick to be a plane. Too bright to be a shooting star. "Danny, you see that?" He looked up. "Probably just flares. Don't let it spook you." But it did spook me. Then I felt a vibration beneath my feet. A deep, resonating tremor from the ground itself. We reached the power station and slipped inside. Danny worked quickly on the panels while I kept watch. That's when I saw it. A faint, greenish glow seeping through the cracks in the walls, pulsing like a heartbeat. "Danny, we've got company," he swore. "We need to move. Now." We stepped outside. The air was colder. The hum was louder. We made our way toward the main building, but every step felt heavier. The ground trembled beneath us. Then we reached it, the back entrance, unguarded, just as we'd hoped. But as Danny reached for the handle, a sharp click echoed through the air, followed by a low rumble. The ground shuddered violently, and I heard it roar. Inhuman. Feral. Danny grabbed my arm. "Inside. Now." We burst through the door, slamming it shut behind us. The roar echoed in the darkness. Whatever was out there, it wasn't human. The air inside was cold and sterile. My flashlight revealed walls lined with strange symbols that seemed to shift as the light moved over them. "This place is bigger than I thought," Danny muttered. We crept deeper. The walls were covered in metallic plating, etched with designs that looked almost organic, like veins running through metal. We rounded a corner and found a glass observation window. Beyond it was a room filled with machinery and flickering screens. In the center stood a large cylindrical tank filled with greenish fluid. And, floating inside, something that moved. I stepped closer. The thing inside was unlike anything I'd ever seen. Long, slender body, limbs twisted at unnatural angles, pale, translucent green skin. No eyes, just hollow sockets. Its mouth was open in a silent scream, rows of jagged teeth glinting. "What the hell is that?" I whispered. Danny was recording. "I don't know, but it's not human." The creature twitched, and suddenly the speakers crackled to life with a distorted, warbling sound. "It's trying to communicate," Danny said, eyes wide. "We need to keep moving," I said. "This isn't safe." We continued down the corridor, passing more tanks, each filled with something alien. Some were small and insect-like, others larger with limbs that bent impossibly, their skin covered in pulsating patterns. We entered a large chamber filled with massive machines. In the center was a platform surrounded by consoles. And there, at the far end, stood a creature, a giant, at least 12 feet tall, with elongated limbs and a face that shifted constantly. Its skin was sickly, translucent green stretched over a skeletal frame. Its eyes were black, bottomless pits. It let out a low, guttural sound. Danny gasped. "This is insane." The creature turned its head, eyes locking onto me. I felt a wave of cold wash over me. I grabbed Danny's arm. "We need to go. Now." But then a voice crackled over the intercom. "Subjects in Sector 4. Containment breach imminent. Initiate lockdown immediately." Red light flooded the room. A siren blared. The creature roared and stepped forward. We bolted, running back the way we'd come. I glanced back and saw the thing moving toward us, limbs stretching impossibly. We reached another corridor, and I hit the keypad. The door opened just in time. We slammed it shut. I could hear the creature scratching at the metal on the other side. "What are these things?" Danny panted. "They're guards," I said. "They're here to protect something." The sirens were deafening. Red lights flashed as we sprinted down corridors. Drones whirred overhead. Guards appeared, guns raised. Bullets pinged off the walls. Danny yanked me into a side hallway. We slammed through a door, crashed into darkness. "Keep moving," Danny shouted. We stumbled into a larger room. I wedged a chair under the door handle. "That won't hold long," Danny said. I spotted a panel on the wall, slightly ajar. "There!" We pushed through into a narrow tunnel and crawled forward. We emerged into a small room filled with humming machines. Danny spotted papers on a desk. Look, files. I grabbed them. Old, yellow documents. The words made my blood run cold. Human experimentation, psychological trials, genetic manipulation. They were testing people. Danny pulled out a folder marked with a government seal. Something about a portal. Interdimensional. I flipped through the pages. Diagrams of strange machines. Notes about dimensional rifts and cross-realm transfer. They were trying to open a door, I muttered. To somewhere else. A loud bang echoed. The door shook violently. They're coming, Danny shouted. The room filled with a magnetic hum. The air grew heavy. The walls trembled. Metal bending and warping. Then I saw them. Creatures. Dozens of them. Bodies stretching, eyes glowing green. They're multiplying, Danny said. The creatures moved toward us, limbs extending like serpents. I felt a pull, like a magnet dragging me forward. I grabbed a table edge. There, I yelled, pointing at a vent. Climb. Danny jumped onto a crate. I followed, pulling myself up as a creature lunged. Its hand brushed my leg. A shock of electricity coursed through me. Danny grabbed my arm, yanking me up. We crawled forward through the narrow duct, creatures screeching behind us. The duct opened into a hidden laboratory. We dropped down onto a metal grate. I rushed to a computer terminal. Danny rifled through papers. Marcus, look. He held up a diagram. The portal. They actually built it. A circular device, massive, connected to generators. They opened a door to another dimension. I whispered. And these things came through. How do we close it? The room shuddered. Machines sparked. Creatures' screeches echoed. They were at the observation window, pressing against the glass, bodies vibrating with energy. We're trapped, Danny whispered. We need to shut down that portal, I said, or we're not getting out alive. The control center was enormous. Machines hummed with pulsating energy. Screens showed alien landscapes, barren deserts, jungles under blood-red skies, impossible floating cities. At the center was a massive circular gateway, made of dark metal, sparking with blue and white light. The air around it vibrated. The portal, Danny murmured. It's real. This was a gateway to somewhere else. And those creatures were here to guard it. But it was open, active, connected to whatever lay beyond. The ground shook. A guttural roar echoed from behind us. Marcus, we need to close it, Danny said, panic in his eyes. The door burst open. A massive shape lunged forward, grabbing Danny with a long, twisted limb. He screamed as the creature lifted him, pulling him toward its gaping mouth, eyes glowing green. Danny, I shouted. Another creature blocked my path, limbs stretching, body vibrating. I felt the magnetic pull again. Danny struggled, but the creature held him tight, dragging him toward the portal. The control panel. If I could reach it, maybe I could shut it down. But that meant leaving Danny behind. He looked at me, face contorted in pain. Marcus, he gasped. Don't let them get through. I knew what I had to do. I ran, dodging past the blocking creature. I reached the control panel, fingers flying over the keys. I found a button marked Emergency Shutdown and slammed my fist down. For a second, nothing happened. Then the room filled with a mechanical whine. Lights flickered. The portal sputtered, light dimming, hum growing chaotic. The creatures howled, bodies convulsing. But Danny was still in the creature's grasp, being dragged closer to the flickering gateway. I hesitated. Danny, hold on. He looked at me, eyes pleading. Do it, he screamed. Shut it down. I pressed the button again. The portal flickered more. The hum rose to an ear-piercing scream. The creature holding Danny convulsed, but didn't let go. I was out of time. I grabbed a metal pipe and swung at the creature's head. It roared, dropping Danny. He scrambled away, and I grabbed his arm, pulling him toward the exit. But creatures surrounded us, eyes glowing, bodies vibrating. The portal was closing. Slowly. Too slowly. Go! Danny shouted, shoving me forward. Save yourself. No, I'm not leaving you. The gateway was almost shut, light fading. I had one chance. I turned back to the control panel, reaching for the final shutdown lever. Danny, I whispered. I'm sorry. He nodded, face set with determination. Do it. Do it now. I pulled the lever. Blinding light. Deafening roar. The creatures screamed, bodies twisting as the portal collapsed. A rush of air dragged me toward the void. I grabbed the console, fingers digging into metal. Then, suddenly, it was over. The light faded. The roar died. Silence. The creatures were gone. The portal was gone. And Danny was gone. I stood there, breathing hard, heart pounding. I had shut it down. I had closed the portal. But at what cost? Danny was gone, and I was left with nothing but questions. I looked around the room, now dimly lit by emergency lights. Screens dead, machines silent. I had stopped them, but I knew it wasn't over. This wasn't the end. Area 5-1 wasn't just a military base. It was a door to somewhere else. And I had only managed to close it for now. I didn't know what was on the other side, or why it had been opened. But I knew one thing, the world wasn't safe. Not anymore. And maybe it never had been.